Good morning, friend. If you're new, welcome to my kitchen. My name is Becky, and today we are going to be meal prepping for this coming weekend. I need to preheat my oven because we are going to make those viral high-protein bagels to turn into bagel sandwiches. The last 2 weekends for me have been a whirlwind and absolutely crazy busy, all fun things, but very busy. And so Josh and I thought it would be fun to take our little family out of town for the weekend where we can rest and recharge away from home, because sometimes, you know, when we're home, life gets in the way of just relaxing. So we're gonna head out this weekend to a little vacation rental, and I thought what would be good, I just threw my mixing attachment, would be to prep the majority of our food so we can enjoy some home-cooked food while we're gone, and all we'll have to do is either reheat it or actually cook it. Most of the work will be done here. I don't wanna grocery shop while I'm there. I don't wanna think about food. We probably will eat out once, but I don't want to eat out every meal. So what I'm going to start with are the bagels so that I can cook the bagels, let them cool, and we can turn them into sandwiches. I don't know if you have seen these high protein bagels go around your Instagram feed, but they are all over my Instagram feed. And what we're going to start with is one 16 ounce, I think this is 16 ounces, yes, of cottage cheese, or 2 cups. I will link all the recipes we're gonna be making today down in the description box. We're also gonna make a shawarma sheet pan dinner. So that dinner, all I'm gonna do is prep that dinner, and then I will cook it when I'm there. But by prepping it today, and I'm actually gonna freeze the chicken, it will, one, be kind of an ice pack in my cooler, and I'll just let it thaw, and I'll cook it once it's thawed, probably on Saturday. Today is Thursday, and we're gonna leave tomorrow. And then we'll have a fresh dinner. We're also gonna be making some pita bread because I don't have any bread made up in my house, and I figured pita bread would be a good stand-in for making like peanut butter and jelly, because I'll bring the makings for that. And then we're also gonna make a dessert to bring because it's nice to have something sweet to snack on when resting out of town. So the first thing I'm gonna do is actually blend up this cottage cheese. Some of the recipes I read said to do it, some said not to do it. I'm gonna do it because I don't love the texture of cottage cheese. That's probably good right there. You can throw this in your actual blender, but I thought the hand mixer would be easier to clean. So I went with the hand mixer. I'm gonna get all this cottage cheese out of here. What I really want to do is use some fresh milled flour in this recipe, but I am going to resist that urge, and I am going to follow the recipe as written for the first time. And if these go well, the next time I make them, I will make them with fresh milled flour, or at least some fresh milled flour. Now, this recipe and most of the recipes I looked at online for this, I saw on a bunch of different people's blogs the exact same recipe. They call for self-rising flour, which I don't have that in my house, but what I do have is baking powder and just regular all-purpose flour. So this recipe said, if you don't have self-rising flour, for every cup of flour, add 1.5 cups or 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder and 1/4 teaspoon salt. So that's what I just did. And we're gonna mix this together. I'm actually doubling this recipe because one recipe calls for 1 cup of self-rising flour and 1 cup of cottage cheese, and I just didn't think that would give me quite enough bagels to make sandwiches to last us. We are all out of the breakfast sandwiches that I made last time we did a big freezer cooking day, so I thought this would be the perfect opportunity to experiment with this recipe. I know how to make homemade bagels, but they're a little bit more labor intensive than this recipe. This, we use baking powder, so we don't have to let them rise. We're not gonna boil them. So these could be delicious, or they could be a flop. Only time will tell. So all we had to do is mix this together now. And I'm basically going to get this dough made up in the time it takes for the oven to preheat. We might need a little bit more flour, but it said to start with 2 cups and then add flour as needed. No pun intended, because we're gonna be kneading it here in just a second. I think I'm just gonna sprinkle a little bit on the top. All right, that's our dough. That was easy. I don't think I'm gonna add any more flour to this. This recipe says it's supposed to make 4 bagels, but I want them a little bit larger just because they're gonna be a breakfast sandwich, so I want them to be able to fit the egg and all of the fixings that we're gonna put on them well. So I'm gonna cut this into 6, if I can do that evenly. I could pull my scale out and weigh it, but I don't think I need them to be that precise. This is so easy. If this turns out well, yeah, I think that makes a good size bagel. I don't think I would want them much smaller than that, but I have no idea how much these are gonna puff up. So as soon as I can get these shaped, we can go ahead and get these in the oven. I'm just putting a tiny hole because I'm gonna be having these as breakfast sandwiches, so I don't want all of the breakfast sandwich filling to work its way out of the hole. So if they end up closing when they bake, that's fine with me. My chickens are officially back in egg production. I have 6 chickens, and while we were gone for the 2 nights, they laid 11 eggs. I thought my chickens were basically retired at this point because they're 5 years old, but we are starting to get a lot of eggs, so I'm pretty excited about that. So now I'm gonna put on everything with the bagel seasoning, and I'm gonna put this on each one. My oven just finished preheating, so in the time it took my oven to preheat, oh shoot, I gotta move that. We made 6 bagels, or at least something that kind of looks like a bagel. We'll see how they turn out. True bagel lovers may beg to differ, but that's our attempt today. All right, so first thing done. I think what I'm gonna do next is get the pita dough going so that that has time to rise while we finish the rest of all the other things we're gonna do today. I'm gonna use this bowl again, and I'm gonna use this egg when I make the eggs for the breakfast sandwiches, or I could even probably put that egg in the cookies we're gonna make, because I didn't use very much of it. I'm gonna rinse this bowl out so I can reuse it to make the cookies. This recipe calls for all-purpose flour, but it also says, this is the pita bread that we're making, you can substitute ½ cup of whole wheat flour. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, but instead of using store-bought whole wheat flour, I'm gonna grind up some fresh milled flour. Before I get my grinder going, I'm going to start blooming my yeast. That is 1 cup of water. And now I'm gonna grab my active dry yeast, and I'm gonna add 2 teaspoons of this to that. Let that mix together, get all happy, and then we'll grind our wheat. 1, 2. What I read was for every 1 cup of grain you grind, you get about 1½ cups of flour. So that's what we're gonna go with. I am going to use hard white wheat for this. I'm gonna turn my grinder on. This recipe says we need to make a sponge, which is perfect. So anytime you're working with fresh milled flour, it is best if you can let the flour hydrate with some water before you actually finish the recipe. So what I'm gonna do is add my sugar, yeast, water mixture to my fresh milled flour. We're gonna give this a little bit of a mix. Now that all the flour has incorporated it in with the water and yeast. We're just gonna cover this and we're gonna let this sit for 10 minutes before we add the rest of our ingredients. This is the perfect time. I think we'll be able to cook up our eggs. Look at this beautiful bowl of eggs. These are the eggs that we got over the weekend. So we're gonna cook some of those up for our breakfast sandwiches. And then I'm gonna grab some cheese out, which I'm gonna need to slice. We're gonna use cheddar for these sandwiches. I also have some pre-cooked bacon in the freezer, or should I do sausages? Let's see. Nope, I think we're gonna do bacon on these sandwiches. And this is already cooked, so I don't even have to cook this. But what I do need to cook are these eggs. And I'm gonna get these cooked on my griddle pan here. So we're gonna get this preheated. And then I like to cook my eggs with butter for flavor. This is the perfect time to thank Made-In for sponsoring today's video. You all have seen me use this carbon steel griddle pan so many times because it is one of my new favorite pieces of kitchen cookware. What I love about it is that it's huge, so it takes up 2 burners, so I can get 8 eggs, 8 pieces of French toast, 8 pancakes, just tons of cooking surface that I have here that I can make tortillas, English muffins, burritos that I can char on both sides, quesadillas, and I can get this one pan out and it works for so many things. Today we are gonna be cooking 2 things on it. We're gonna be cooking our eggs and I'm gonna show you how non-stick it is. Carbon steel is a natural non-stick that just becomes more non-stick over time. It is lighter than cast iron, which is nice. And this carbon steel pan can go up to 1200 degrees Fahrenheit. So you can cook it with it on a stove, in the oven, on a grill, on a fire. Made-In prides themselves in professional grade quality cookware for the home cook. And this has quickly become one of my absolute favorite pieces of cookware. You see me use it all the time and you're gonna see me use it 2 different ways today. So I have this now preheating. I'm gonna add a little bit of butter for flavor. While I'm cooking my eggs, I'm also going to just crisp up these pieces of bacon. This bacon is fully cooked, but I want it a little bit crispier. So on the side here, I'm just gonna get a couple pieces crisped up. And I want this butter over here because this butter's for my eggs. If you are interested in this carbon steel griddle pan or any of their other cookware, they have a whole beautiful stainless steel line. They will be the first link down in the description box, and there is a special offer for those of you that it is your first time purchasing anything from Made-In. One of my favorite things to do on this griddle pan is when I have a loaf of sourdough made up, is to brown up some bacon and then toast my sourdough bread in that bacon grease and make the most incredible toast. I'm still waiting for my griddle to get hot enough to cook my eggs, but I wanted to take a sneak peek at these bagels and look at them. Can you tell how much they've puffed up? They look beautiful. My phone says they still have 8 minutes left, but I thought I would just take a quick internal temperature and they're getting pretty close. That says 200 degrees. I'm gonna let them keep going because they kind of feel like they could keep cooking and brown on the top. Those are looking pretty nice for how easy that was. I might cook them to an internal temperature of about 210 to 215 degrees because they had so much moisture in them from the cottage cheese. So my bacon is starting to crisp up. The nice thing about keeping it pre-cooked is it doesn't create as much grease. I think my griddle's ready at this point. Try to hold my egg in place so it stays its shape a little bit better. Perfect. I'm not going to add any salt to my eggs, but I am going to add some pepper. I think eggs are the only thing that I don't like salted. Now when I make breakfast sandwiches, I like the egg yolk popped. So I usually just kind of pop it and then fold it over. My timer just went off for these bagels. I'm gonna go into the biggest one back here, take its temp. We're at 211. Let's feel them. I'm gonna give them 3 more minutes. I think our eggs are perfectly done now at this point. They're sliding around too much. I can't even get them on the spatula. I'm gonna let this bacon crisp up just a little bit more. Then all I'm gonna have to do is wipe this off and it'll be ready for me to cook the pita once that's ready. Speaking of pita, I think we can go ahead and get the rest of the ingredients in here. So I'm gonna get 1.5 cups of just all-purpose flour in here. And this has started to rise. I'll show you what it looks like. It's definitely puffed up nicely. That yeast has started to activate. I'm gonna add some salt and some extra virgin olive oil. Now we're gonna knead this for 10 minutes. All right, that is basically the fixings of our breakfast sandwich, other than I gotta slice up some cheese. All I'm gonna do to clean this is wipe this off with a paper towel, because when we cook our pitas, we don't need to cook them in this bacon grease. At this point, our bread is kneading, so I figured I could put a couple things away and I could prep our chicken for our sheet pan dinner. I picked a sheet pan dinner because where we're going, there's gonna be some snow, so I can't grill anything. And to me, a sheet pan dinner generally is less messy than anything I have to cook on the stove. So I was looking at recipes and I saw a chicken schwarma sheet pan dinner. That sounded fantastic. So that's what I'm making. I'm going to take the time to kind of trim off any excess fat just because that's the way we prefer it. We prefer not to, bite into any excess fat. And then I'm going to put these chicken thighs directly into a freezer bag where I'm going to make my marinade. I'm going to do it all in a freezer bag so I'm not messing up a bowl or anything like that. And I chose chicken thighs. You could use chicken thighs or chicken breast. I find that chicken thighs are a lot more forgiving when it comes to overcooking them. Chicken thighs have a little bit more give on the cooking time. So that's why I chose that. And we're going to get these into the freezer bag. Let me know if you guys like to do any meal prep before you go out of town. I just figured it's easier to use my own kitchen, my own cooking equipment and things like that, and just get a bunch of it done now so that I don't have to think about it later. I got the chicken all prepped, hands washed, and this is now kneaded long enough. Let me show you what it looks like. It's beautiful. It's a nice, soft dough. I'm gonna take the mixer out, stick it like that, and now I'm gonna put this in my oven, just with the oven light on. The oven's not hot at all, but that way it'll rise in a little bit warmer of an environment for about an hour. So we'll probably end with this pita bread because I think I'll have more than enough time to prep everything else we need to while this is rising in there for an hour. I'm gonna make the marinade in this bag, and then this chicken is gonna marinate for the next couple days, day or two. Did I say that right? I didn't realize that there's marinade is the sauce, and then the chicken marinates in the sauce. Did I say that right? I don't know, I might not even be saying that correctly. I probably should have a second cup of coffee before I keep on going. So anyway, I've got the recipe here. I'm just gonna go ahead and make the sauce that this is gonna sit in just right in here. And then I'll just mix it up really well. I don't have any more marinated chicken or beef or pork or anything in my freezer. We've worked through that. So probably next week we're gonna be doing a big freezer cooking day, because what a lot of times I will do if we have these like impromptu getaways, I mean, we don't do this very often. I think we did it about 3 months ago and it was really nice. That's why we kind of thought we would do it again. But before that, it had been a year or something since we'd done it. But what I would do in the past is I would just pull out some chicken that I already have. Oh, what is that for? I think that was for my bagels. I would just pull out some chicken that I had already in my freezer prepped, and I would cook that in the oven at the rental house or on the grill or whatever it might be. And I would pull out some breakfast sandwiches. I don't have any of that because I've been really working on going through that. But now that I don't have it, I need to prep it so that I can take it. And then next week we'll do a big prep day. And if these bagels, they smell good, they look good, turn out, I could whip up 20 of these so quickly. I guess we have to see how they freeze too. So maybe I'll put them in the freezer. I don't know. I was gonna say I could put a couple in the freezer. I'm blabbering. I need to have a second cup of coffee. All right, I poured myself a second cup of coffee. I've started drinking it, and now we're gonna add basically almost every seasoning that I have into this chicken and more, because I've got one down here. We're gonna add cardamom to this and cinnamon, so that's gonna be delicious. And then I'm adding a few more than what the recipe calls for. There's cardamom, and then cinnamon is here. But the first thing I'm gonna add is some Greek yogurt. So this is why I kind of want to do this type of stuff here, because I don't want to have to buy all these ingredients or hope a rental house has them. It's just easier to prep all this stuff at home before heading out of town. So that's my Greek yogurt. Now I'm going to add some olive oil. This was one of the winning olive oils when we did the olive oil taste test. There was 3 that kind of tied, and this was there at the top. This is from Trader Joe's. Now I'm gonna add salt, all the salt I have in there. Pepper. I'm just eyeballing these ingredients. I'm not getting out a spoon or anything, but there is a written recipe that will be linked down for you with actual measurements. Cardamom, smoked paprika, I'm gonna put 2 of those. Basil, I'm gonna put 2 of those. Coriander, 1 of those. Cumin, a heaping 1. Garlic, a heaping 1. Onion powder, a heaping spoonful, maybe 2. And cinnamon, I'm gonna have to grab a different spoon because I don't wanna put this into my cinnamon. I'm gonna put a half a teaspoon. I'm gonna mix that yogurt and spices together first, just so that that gets mixed together. And then I'm gonna mix in all the chicken with the yogurt and the spices. So now our protein is done. I am gonna lay this flat in the freezer and freeze this just like this, so that this, I am gonna put ice packs in my cooler when we go, but it'll be nice that this is frozen, and if I don't wanna cook it till Saturday, I'll just, well, maybe I won't put it in the freezer. I'll put it in the fridge for now, and then I'll decide a little bit later. So let's get this put away, and then we can get going on our dessert. We still need to prep the vegetables, I guess, but I wanna go ahead and make the cookies next because that sounds like more fun to me. I will go ahead and grab out my veggies though that we're gonna prep to go with the shawarma. We are gonna prep some peppers, cauliflower, and some onions. We're also gonna prep some carrots too, because I just harvested a bunch of carrots from the garden, and those onions are from the garden. I was doing some planting, and when I was doing planting, I found a bunch of onions that I didn't harvest. I need to make some brown sugar for our cookies, so I just measured out here my sugar, and now I'm gonna add some molasses to it, because if you don't know, all brown sugar is sugar with some molasses. And I need dark brown sugar, so I'm gonna add that much. This is gonna be the first time I'm making cookies with my new hand mixer, so we're gonna see how this goes, especially because we're making chocolate chip oatmeal, or oatmeal chocolate chip, however you wanna say that. Now, if you keep mixing, that's gonna turn into brown sugar, but I'm just gonna go ahead and add my butter right now, and I need 3/4 cup. So that's 1.5 sticks of butter. And this is softened butter. And I'm actually gonna cook these when we get there, and I'll probably not bring all of them. Most of these will probably stay in our freezer here, but it's nice to have a home-cooked warm cookie when out of town. Vanilla, 1 egg, flour, a little more flour, oats, baking powder. Chocolate chips. So these are big oatmeal chocolate chip cookies. I'm gonna grab my 2 tablespoon scoop, but I will make them a heaping tablespoon. And then I usually shape them just a little bit, get them on here. I'm gonna flash freeze these. And usually when I bake cookies from frozen, I drop the temperature down by about 25 degrees or so, and I bake them usually for about a minute or 2 longer. Oatmeal chocolate chip cookies are some of my favorites. Sounds like Josh just got home, so maybe what I'll do is I will make up one of these breakfast sandwiches for him, and we will do a taste test with you to see what he thinks of this bagel sandwich. I have not told him what I used to make the bagel yet. So I think that's what I'm gonna do. Let me get these shaped and into the freezer, and then we'll make up those breakfast sandwiches. Are you hungry? Josh just said he's starving. I'm gonna make you up a breakfast sandwich.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Awesome.
Okay, we got 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 13 cookies. So in the freezer. Josh, would you pop these in the freezer for me while I make you up a sandwich? I just made these bagels, Josh. Do you want honey mustard or anything on them? Or, okay, he wants honey mustard. He just said yes, please. So let's see if I have any made up. I don't have any homemade, but I have this bottle of store-bought, so we're just gonna use this. Does that work for you?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay. So let's cut into this and see what this looks like on the inside together. Moment of truth. Ooh, that looks pretty nice. So I'm gonna go ahead and get them all cut open. Now the question is, how are these gonna freeze? So I'm definitely gonna freeze a couple of them and thaw them so that we can see how that goes, because I could prep a ton of, whoop, okay, too much. A ton of these, because those were really easy to make. Now each one's gonna get one of our eggs. So there are our 6 breakfast sandwiches, and we will definitely serve this warm in the microwave or air fryer. I don't know what the rental house is gonna have. So I'm gonna melt the cheese and warm this up. I'm gonna start with 20 seconds because it's not cold, and see how that goes. And then I might add an extra 10 seconds or so. Then I'm gonna call Josh in and we're gonna give this a taste test. I'm gonna check on our dough in here. And it looks like as soon as we give this a taste test, we can go ahead and make up our pita bread. Here you can see the cheese is nice and melted, so I'm gonna give this a try, and then Josh is gonna come in here and give this a try. It feels really soft. It smells incredible. It smells like a bagel. Wow. I mean, it's not a true bagel. You wanna try it?
That looks awesome.
Those ones aren't warmed up yet.
This looks great.
I'm gonna go for it. You like it?
That's amazing.
Do you know
Egg, everything is so perfect. The cheese.
So that bagel is made with just flour, cottage cheese, baking powder, and salt.
Cottage cheese.
It's a high protein bagel.
That's awesome. I can use some high protein right now.
You like the texture of it?
It's good.
Awesome, okay.
It's great.
I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Maybe next time I will try making it with, he's going in for another bite. I will try making it with some fresh milled flour, because I just used all-purpose flour.
It's great. Yeah, I could see whole wheat being good too.
Well, Josh gobbled that up super quickly. And so the big trick, I guess, is to see how they freeze and reheat. So now I've got my dough out of the oven. The oven is not preheated yet, but I need to preheat it. I'm just grabbing my recipe here. Here we go. 475. And what I need to do is change this to the middle rack. And we are gonna use our griddle pan to cook our pitas on. This does fit in my oven. It just has to go up on one side a little bit. So that's gonna preheat while we roll out our dough. Here you can see just how beautiful and fluffy it is. What I probably could have done if I had more cottage cheese is I could have just made a double batch of the bagels, and we could have used those for like sandwiches and stuff. But what I was thinking, because we're having shawarma, I want pita bread with my shawarma. I'm just going to, whatever we don't eat with the shawarma, will just be for like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. So for what I prepped today, I will also bring peanut butter and jelly, yogurt, fresh fruit. What am I looking for? I'm looking for my mat. And I'll also probably bring some like beef sticks and things like that. Just really easy snacky stuff. And that will be plenty. At this point, my oven is preheating, so I figured I would be able to get all of these rolled out in the time it takes for my oven to preheat, and I was able to do that and more. Well, actually, I only ended up getting 6 out of the 8 rolled out because I didn't have room on my silicone mat. I use the silicone mat a lot because I have granite tile, and I don't love rolling out dough or pastry on the granite tile because it's kind of a pain to clean. And I was gifted this silicone mat, and it has become one of my favorite, just simple pieces of cooking equipment so that I can kind of keep my counters a little bit more tidy. And here I have just divided my dough into 8 equal pieces They're not exactly perfect, but that's fine. And then I'm going to roll them out into about an 8-inch square or so. Again, I am not precise when it comes to this. I'm not going to weigh out my dough for something like this, and I'm not going to measure out my dough. I'm just looking for kind of about an 1/8 of an inch thickness. You don't want these too thick, but you don't want them too thin, if that makes sense. The first time I made these, it felt like magic that you can actually just whip up a simple dough, cook them on a high heat in an oven, and they puff up, which I'll show you how they do that in just a minute. At this point, I have about 100 degrees left to go on my oven to preheat, so I'm going to get my veggies prepped. I'm going to cook these on a sheet pan just like I'm going to cook the chicken when we make our chicken shawarma, and I have chosen to roast up some red bell pepper and onions. I end up chopping up 2 bell peppers, all these onions, and this whole head of cauliflower. And then when we get to the rental, I only end up using half of it because I didn't want to bring leftovers home of roasted veggie. So I end up bringing home half of the veggies washed and prepped and chopped. So the day we come home from our family little outing as just a little family, we go straight to my mother-in-law's house and we have our bigger family dinner that we have once a month at her house. But then the following day, I get home on Monday. It's a computer work day. I work in my office most of the day, and I was able to pull out the chicken that we didn't end up eating on the night that I cooked the chicken, and then I was able to roast up the rest of the vegetables, and it was perfect. So it was kind of like I prepped 2 dinners, which was really nice, and we were able to really enjoy that. So once I got the onions and peppers chopped up, I'm going to go ahead and just chop up this cauliflower as well. And the nice thing about prepping veggies is it makes it much more enjoyable to then go and use them if you don't have to wash them and dice them and do all of that all on the same day. My oven is just now preheated. I'm gonna go ahead and get my mixer put away. And then I'm gonna bring over my pita rounds over here so that I can finish rolling them out. I was just trying to put some different things away back in the fridge and in the sink, just clean up a little bit. So now I have my pita bread here. I have a clean towel, so when they come out of the oven, I can stick them on this towel. And I think I should be able to just put them in like that. They're gonna cook for about 2 minutes on one side, and then I can turn them over and they'll cook for about a minute on the other side. Look at that, it worked. See if I can, my tongs are dirty. Might actually be able to cook 3 in here at a time. Whew, they're hot. Look at that. Yummy, yummy. It's like magic. Just like tortillas, I like to put them in a towel and let them kind of steam and finish cooking. I'll let you watch those puff up. Last 2 going in. I was gonna make a carrot salad to go along with this, but you know, I just think that's gonna be too much. I don't think we need that, especially if we are gonna go out one day. I'm gonna bring some Greek yogurt that we can have just as breakfast. You can come in. Josh is coming in. I'm gonna bring peanut butter and jelly so that with the extra pitas, we can have peanut butter and jelly. We have 5 breakfast sandwiches left, and we're gonna have all those veggies and chicken. So Josh, this is what I have made up for this weekend. I have 5 breakfast sandwiches, 8 pitas, about 8 or 9 chicken thighs, and a bunch of veggies. So we're gonna have chicken shawarma for dinner one night with pita, chicken, roasted cauliflower, roasted peppers and onions, and then I'll bring some Greek yogurt for a sauce.
Wow.
I have, oatmeal chocolate chip cookies.
Awesome. I saw that little.
Oh yeah, you brought them out there. And we have 5 breakfast sandwiches. I was gonna bring yogurt for breakfast, some fresh fruit, and peanut butter and jelly that we can turn these into peanut butter and jelly sandwiches if we want.
Amazing.
I was gonna make a carrot salad. Do you think we need that as well?
It seems like
Probably
we
2.
already have plenty.
Yeah. I tend to usually,
It could help balance, I guess, the meal, but I think that's plenty.
plenty.
Those
Okay.
look great. Wow.
This one didn't quite puff yet, so I'm gonna give it another second.
That was awesome.
Because I think I assume we're probably gonna eat out one night while
I
we're
think
there.
so.
Okay. And then after the breakfast sandwiches, we might eat breakfast out at a coffee shop one morning too. Either tomorrow morning or maybe the day we come home.
Yeah.
Yeah. Rotate these. Okay. These look good? They're super soft. Look how soft these are. And these are with some fresh milled flour too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
They're soft?
That's like professional right there.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. Gosh, you would think after 10 years I would know not to put stuff so close to the edge. One of my dogs was trying to sneak one of those breakfast sandwiches, and that would have been a travesty. These have now frozen, so I'm gonna get these into this bag. I probably will just bring the whole bag. I won't bake all of them, I don't think, but I don't really wanna get another bag dirty with cookie dough. And here is a yummy homemade treat ready to go in about 10 minutes or so after they are baked. Now, I've got my breakfast sandwiches I want to wrap up. You can use parchment paper to wrap them. You can use plastic wrap. I'm just gonna use some foil because that was the easiest thing for me to grab. If you wrap them in foil, you could reheat them in the oven if you wanted to. I probably will reheat these in the microwave. And then I'm gonna get these in a bag. Biggest thing is I just don't want them to fall apart. Probably use a little less foil. And this mess right here is usually why I say work with a dishwasher that is empty. This didn't get turned on last night before we went to bed. And so when I came in here this morning, I realized that I turned it on and it was running the whole time I was cooking. So instead of being able to put these dishes directly into the dishwasher, that has to happen now. So I've got a nice big pile of dishes here, but that is the reality. It is 1 o'clock. I think we started doing this around 11:30, maybe 10:30. I don't remember what time, but it doesn't feel like it's taken me that long because there's been a couple times where I've stopped and done other things and come back in. And it just seemed really easy. I was able to do all this with all of my own cooking equipment, my own groceries, my own refrigerator. So it was just a lot easier than if I was trying to manage this at a rental house. I did pull out the coolers. I think I'm only gonna need one of these coolers, but they need to be washed. So I figured since dishes were gonna be needing to be done, I will pull out the cooler and get that washed up the same time all of these dishes are done. It is the next morning. Those dishes did get done because I don't like coming home to a dirty kitchen. And I am gonna go ahead and show you what I have packed up in this cooler. I have not gotten ready for the day yet. Josh is in the shower, so this would be the perfect time to show you what I have here. I have a half gallon of milk, some Cara oranges, some frozen strawberry freezer jam, some yogurt for both topping our shawarmas and for breakfast if we want. We've got our breakfast sandwiches, our frozen cookie dough. I did freeze the chicken and our prepped veggies. I also froze the breakfast sandwiches because I thought it would be best if as many things were cold going into the cooler because I only have a few ice packs, it would be better. And then I really wanted to see how they reheated. Josh really liked those bagels the first day I made them, and I wanted to see if they held up to freezing and reheating well because they were so easy to make. So we only ended up needing one cooler. That cooler I did not end up having to put anything in. And it is now Friday night, the night we were heading out of town. We thought we would probably cook the chicken shawarma the first night, but when we got into town where we were going, we thought, I think we're gonna just eat out on that first night. So that's what we did, but we did want some sweet treat after dinner. So I did go ahead and cook up the cookies, and this is Josh taking them out of the oven for me. They did not look like they normally do. I think my brown sugar that I made was not the right ratio of sugar to brown sugar. They tasted fine. They just flattened out quite a bit. And we were able to eat on these the night that I made them, and then we enjoyed them for the rest of our trip. I didn't end up making any more than those 6. It is now Saturday morning, and these reheated beautifully. So they were thawed by the time I did cook them Saturday morning, and they reheated beautifully. I'm planning a big freezer cooking day, and I asked Josh, would you like some biscuit sandwiches prepped in the freezer? And he's like, I really liked those bagels you made, so I'm going to be making more of those here shortly. Now we're going to make our shawarma. It is now Saturday night, and I have half of the veggies we prepped on this tray, and the house did have some seasonings, so I put a little bit of olive oil on here, and then there was like an all-purpose seasoning, and then I did some paprika, and we called that good for seasoning on these veggies. I saw on the rental listing that they had some spices, so I wasn't worried about seasoning these veggies before we left. All I really wanted to do was prep them. So those are going in the oven. The chicken is now going in the oven. The house thankfully had some parchment paper, so I was able to line the baking sheets with parchment paper just so that cleanup would be really easy. This oven was a really fancy oven, and it had convection. So I did cook these at 420 with convection, and they roasted up beautifully. Normally in my oven, I have to rotate things halfway through, and with the convection setting on this oven, I did not have to do that. I reheated some pita in the oven. I ended up just having my chicken shawarma with the veggies, and then Josh, you're going to see how he ended up making his chicken shawarma. After the chicken came out of the oven, I did kind of chop it up, and the veggies looked perfect. Josh is going to make up his plate so you can see how it was made up. We had a wonderful time on this family trip. It was super relaxing, very low key. It was nice to just kind of get away from the house. When we're at home, there's always something that can be done, and sometimes it's hard to turn off your brain and just sit and relax and do nothing. And this little family trip allowed us to kind of do that, recharge, and we are headed home the next day, and I have a lot of things planned. So thank you for being here. Thank you for being you. If you want to watch some more videos, I'll pop some more videos here. You can go enjoy between now and my next upload.